What up guys, Dan here today after God knows how long to bring you a quick little video showing off the new TCG deck that I'm going to be playing for the 2016-2017 format. The reason I'm making this deck list is to get some response, some feedback on how to improve it, as I can't think of anything at the moment other than maybe a Ninja Boy tech, or to replace some cards that obviously aren't as good, would you say, or aren't as usable or viable in this deck. So this format I'm going to be playing Xerneas, Gardevoir, Mega Gardevoir from the Primal Clash set, not the Steam Siege one. Personally don't like the Steam Siege Gardevoir. I like the original Gardevoir EX, but the Mega Gardevoir, the Fairy Psychic split with Despair Ray, doesn't seem that good in my opinion. Obviously, I know a lot of people are going to say it's a really good card because you get to discard all these Shamans that you have in play, or the Hoopers, and other Pokemon that will get knocked out, but then it's a consistency thing. Sure, you're hitting 120, 130 for the first turn, 150 I'd say roughly, but then you're hitting 110, which I know is still, it's viable, but compared to this obviously hits around about 150 to 100 to 210 every single turn. So to start off the deck, we run 4 Geomancy Xerneases. This card is a must-have in the deck. It's just great. Starter opener for energy acceleration. Not to mention it beats out Carbink, because obviously Safeguard is going to be a huge issue this format. Then we run 3 copies of Gardevoir EX. Now I prefer this Gardevoir. Why? Because obviously it's cheaper and it just looks better in my opinion. The only reason I'm not playing any of these Steam Siege ones is because they are good cards, but again, it's cost. I'm trying to make this deck as budget as possible, and obviously adding a new card from a new set is just going to make the deck more expensive. Next up now, we have 3 copies of Mega Gardevoir. I'm waiting on one in the post. Again, Generations art, you can obviously go for the other arts if you want. The entire reason I run 3 is because that's the most consistent for me, and Xerneas is just basically what you want to start with. This card is mainly going to sit on your bench until it gets 3 energy, and then obviously you can switch out with Fairy Guard and start attacking for upwards of 150 per turn. With this deck, I'm hitting around about 150 turn 2, which is extremely consistent. I get that probably 4 out of 5 games. The other times I'm only hitting for 120, or sometimes at the worst 90. And then here's the 2 cards that contradict my deck being budget. 2 copies of Shaman EX. You have to run Shaman in this deck. There's no way around it. Shaman is just such a good card. It allows you to draw up. It allows you to draw into Max Elixirs, to your Trainer's Mail, to your Sycamores, and cards like that. It also helps out with another card that we run, which is Hooper. Hooper's obviously going to get your EXs out, so most of the time off of a Hooper, you normally fetch a Shaman to Gardevoir. And I'll show you at the end of the video a quick little setup thing that I like to do at the start of most matches, which is like the optimal play. Trainer cards, we play an obvious 4 Ultra Ball. Whoops, picked up a Trainer's Mail there. We play 4 Ultra Ball. Why? Ultra Ball is the only way we can search cards in the deck. Obviously, we're not water, so we can't run Dive Ball. We're not part of the extremely heavy retreat, so we can't run Heavy Ball. And there's obviously other cards like that which you can use now. Team Magma Ball, Team Aqua Ball, because we don't run any of those cards. Next up, we have 4 Trainer's Mail. Another great card you have to run 4. You could run 3. I could see running 3, then maybe subbing in another card. But 4, obviously, to hit your Max Elixirs, and pretty much your Max Elixirs, your BS Seekers, your Ultra Balls, and obviously all of your supporters that you are running in this deck. Next up, we are running 4 Trainer's Mail. I only have 3 at the moment. I am looking to buy, whoopsie, not Trainer's Mail, Max Elixir. We have 4 Max Elixirs in the deck. I'm looking to buy 1 more, so obviously if you're looking to sell Max Elixirs, you can always just leave a comment down below and I will probably buy them off you, because I'm looking at a decent price. Obviously on eBay they are stupidly expensive for a single one. I think they're like £7 or £8 at the moment, which is ludicrously insane, because I was able to get these 2 for literally £1 and probably like 1 or 2 reverse hollows at the Steam Siege pre-release that I went to. Next up, if you just saw the card that I put down, we are playing 4 Versus Seeker again. Versus Seeker, you have to run 4 of such a great card to get supporters back from the discard pile into your hand. Basically allows you to use N and Sycamore, Lysander and multiple times. Really good as well if you are running Ninja Boy and you don't get the cards that you need. Next up we play 3 copies of Gardevoir Spirit Link. I only run 3 because 3 is obviously the number of EXs I play. I know most people say you should always run 4 for consistency's sake, but I found 3 to be extremely consistent, and most of the time if I have more than if I have 2 in my hand, 1 is always a dead card, so there's no point to really me playing 4 if they're going to be dead cards in my hand. Obviously, I know even if they are dead cards, you can sycamore them away, but there's no way to get items back in this deck. And then we run 3 Fairy Drop, really good card in my opinion. I can consider dropping one of these out to pick up a Ninja Boy, put a Ninja Boy into the deck, or some other cards that might improve in consistency. But Fairy Drop, really good, just heal 50 damage from a Pokemon that has a Fairy Energy attached to it. We only run Fairy Energy in the deck, so obviously we're constantly healing. The entire reason I run Fairy Drop is to avoid 2-hit KOs, because again, 50 damage is a very good amount. Then we run 2 Super Rod. Most people only run the 1. I need to run 2 in this because most of the time I do end up discarding a lot of Pokemon and a lot of energy. So running 2 is obviously the best way for me to get them back into the deck. It also allows me to dump cards in the early game like Gardevoir or Shaman or Energies and get them back. Then here we go onto our one-offs. We have 1 copy of Switch. Battered base set Switch. Anyway, Switch is really good just in case you don't have energy or you have just 1 energy in your hand and you want to accelerate onto a certain Pokemon. It really helps if you have something like a Hooper or a Shaman active. You have no way of putting it back into your hand. 1 copy of Mega Turbo to help with the acceleration onto your Mega Gardevoir if you weren't able to get 2 or 3 max elixirs and you do have energy in the discard. And then 1 copy of Energy Switch, again just to help Gardevoir or any other Pokemon attack. Also helps with switching if you do need to switch in certain scenarios and you don't have Switch available. Going on to our supporters now, we run 4 copies of N. N, obviously an amazing card, probably, in my opinion, it's the best supporter in the game. I know a lot of people might say Sycamore's better. In my opinion, N's the best. Why? Early game, it allows you to shuffle and redraw up to 6. Late game, it's a great disruption tool, and it can basically stop your opponent from having good cards in the hand, especially late game if they are on 1 or 2 prizes, meaning that they won't be able to draw into the cards that they need to draw into to actually win. Then we only play 3 Sycamore. Obviously, this deck doesn't benefit off of discarding cards. That's the entire reason I only play 3 Sycamore. With the 4 VS Seeker, I think that's perfectly fine because you can probably play about 5 Sycamores in a game. Most of the time, I only play like 3 in a game, which is perfect. Again, obviously, with cards like Ultra Ball, I end up discarding Sycamore and putting them back into my hand due to VS Seeker. And then our last supporter is Lysander. 1 Lysander, obviously, to get out certain cards. Lysander out your opponent's Shaman, Lysander out the Hoopers and one-shot them, or if you're playing against Ground, hopefully Lysander out the basic Ground on EX and then KO it. I know some people say when I was playing this at my local poker club, they said you should be playing stuff like Ninja Boy. Hopefully, if you can get your hands on Hex Maniac, you can put that in. Personally, at the moment, this deck is extremely consistent the way it is, but obviously, if there are any suggestions with valid points behind them, I will try and update the deck and make the deck better. Then we run 3 Fairy Garden. Why? Because retreating is a cost that I do not want to play in this deck whatsoever. If I have to retreat, I basically end up losing in my opinion, because again, we're losing energy off of Pokemon that need it to actually get a good attack off. And then finally, we play 9 basic Fairy Energy. See there, all 9 of them. The entire reason we play 9, it allows you to hit to 270 with Brilliant Arrow, which is pretty much never going to happen, but you consistently, in this deck, you consistently hit around about 150 to 180, which is obviously what you want to see. Now this is the opening play that most of the time I get. Is normally I have Xerneas out on the field, I have Ultra Ball in my hand, Ultra Ball away, whatever, and then basically all the time you grab Hooper, play down your Hooper, you obviously get your Hooper's effect goes off, you get your Shaman, you get 1 copy of Mega Gardevoir and 1 copy of the Gardevoir, or instead of that you can always go for the safer play in my opinion. If you don't have a Gardevoir in your hand, you can just pick up 2 Mega Gardevoir, play the 2 Mega Gardevoir down, play your other cards, play down your hand, play Shaman, draw up, hopefully hit a supporter, and then you carry on from there. Most of the time this deck does get attacking within turn 2, and it is pretty consistent. I enjoy playing the deck, but if there are any ways I can change it, make it better, more consistent, maybe getting more damage out turn 1, maybe avoiding getting O-Code by certain cards, I don't know, ways to counter Groundon EX maybe, the Mega one. That's the main threat to this deck, I think, because they will easily one-shot. Not to mention, Steel might become a playable archetype, even though we are losing Metal Link's Bronzong. Anything like that's going to be a huge help. So make sure you comment down below on how to improve my deck, and I guess I'll see you guys next time.